Welcome back to another episode of Rock Boys Football. Less than 2 weeks before this Michigan program kicks off the 2024 season, and this quarterback battle continues to rage on. Want to have two different conversations. Number one, kind of a little update in terms of the quarterbacks that are starting to separate in this quarterback competition. But I think more importantly, seeing how we're less than 2 weeks from kicking off this 2024 season, what does the timeline look for Michigan, Sherrone Moore, and Kurt Campbell to name this quarterback one heading into 2024? Now, Michigan's been very tight-lipped around who is going to be the starting quarterback in the 2024 season. And to me personally, that makes so much sense. You look at that week 2 matchup against Texas. You look at Texas, they play Colorado State week 1. There's not a ton of prep that has to go into that game against Colorado State. I would not be surprised that over the next couple of days and weeks, Texas is spending a lot of time prepping for this Michigan game week 2. It makes it really hard to prep for this Michigan offense when you don't know who the starting quarterback is, because guess what? It looks a lot different if you're prepping for Davis Warren or Jack Tuttle versus a quarterback like Alex Orji. And so from a schematic standpoint, I think it makes a lot of sense for Michigan to be tight-lipped about this quarterback situation. But on the flip side, I think a lot of Michigan fans are saying, hey, we want to name our quarterback one as soon as possible to let that quarterback really take command and ownership of this offense heading into 2024. Want to, one, provide an update on the quarterbacks and what we're hearing out of fall camp. And I think more importantly, have that conversation of when Michigan should go about naming this starting quarterback. Now, before we get into it, and as always, to the Michigan fans, many of y'all know I'm a Michigan fan. We all want the same thing, right? We all want the quarterback that's going to give us the best chance to win on Saturdays and compete for a national championship. That being said, it looks a lot different for a lot of Michigan fans, right? I'm on the message boards with y'all talking about the quarterbacks, talking about the timetable. A lot of Michigan fans, y'all might, who've rocked with the boys for the last couple of weeks and months, might not agree with some of these takes. That is, at least in my mind, the beauty of being a college football fan. So I would love to hear from you guys, whether you agree, whether you disagree, how you want this Michigan quarterback battle, one, to play out in terms of who's starting and running this Michigan offense. But I think more importantly, when should Michigan go about naming the starting quarterback heading into 2024? I'll give you guys some of my takes. And without further ado, let's get into this one. And let's start with who are the quarterbacks that are emerging in this quarterback room. It sounds like it's Alex Orji and Davis Warren. And it's been a wild ride for Michigan fans, right? You go back 4 months coming out of spring practice, we were kind of all aboard Alex Orji, kind of penciling him in as being the quarterback one. Then you fast forward to the start of fall camp. There's a lot of buzz around the veteran Jack Tuttle. And now we're 2 weeks out from kicking off the 2024 season. It sounds like it's a 2-horse race between Alex Orji and Davis Warren. Now, from what you're hearing about Alex Orji, one, seems to be the quarterback that is taking most ownership and command of this offense, which is a very important trait when you're talking about who you want your starting quarterback to be. But I think more importantly, continues to take steps in being a polished pocket passer who can push the ball down the field. Right? We all know Alex Orji and what he brings to this Michigan rushing attack as really being one of the more dynamic players on this Michigan team with the football in his hands. That being said, I think the big caveat for a lot of Michigan fans, hey, we would love to have Alex Orji as our starting quarterback. It's going to be very fun to watch on Saturdays, but we know that we can't beat teams like Texas and Oregon and Ohio State being a one-dimensional offense. Meaning, hey, Alex Orji, we know he can provide a lot of juice in this rushing attack. We need to be able to push the ball down the field at certain points to win those football games. And so to hear that Alex Orji continues to take those steps as a passer, I think it's the biggest storyline for Alex Orji. And I think on the flip side, it sounds like Davis Warren has been the most consistent quarterback in the room. And you look at Davis Warren, he's been kind of a fascinating quarterback within this Michigan offense the last couple of years. One, has sneakily been within this Michigan program for a very long time. Hasn't played a ton of football, but he's going into his 4th year within this Michigan program, knows the offense, knows what Sherrone Moore and Kurt Campbell want to do. I think more importantly, when we've seen Davis Warren play, we haven't seen him play a ton Saturdays in the fall, but we've seen him play a lot in the spring game. And let's be quite frank about it. Davis Warren has looked like a very good quarterback that Michigan can win a lot of football games with as a starting quarterback. And so I think the conversation is, can Davis Warren translate what we've seen in the spring game to the football field Saturdays in the fall? My personal opinion, again, this is my personal opinion. I know a lot of Michigan fans might disagree with this. I want to rock with Alex Orji, and that might be the fan in me in terms of I think Alex Orji provides the highest ceiling to this Michigan offense. I think if you see Alex Orji take those steps as a passer and you combine that with what he can do in the run game, the Michigan offense's best version is with Alex Orji being an efficient passer down the field and what he can provide in the run game. That's my personal opinion. So if I'm Michigan and I'm a Michigan fan, that's kind of who I want to see emerge as a starting quarterback. Because if Alex Orji does emerge as that starting quarterback, it means that he has taken those steps as a passer. And if Alex Orji takes those steps as a passer, combined with what he can do from an athleticism standpoint, this Michigan offense is going to be an absolute bear to deal with. And I think the second conversation is I look at this Michigan offense and say, what are the units that I have the most confidence in? It starts with the offensive line. I think there are a lot of people across the country that say, hey, this Michigan team is losing a ton of guys to the NFL draft on the offensive line. They're not going to be as good. I think a lot of Michigan fans look at this offensive line and say, we got a lot of guys who are going into year 3, year 4, even year 5 as college football players, specifically within this Michigan program. Yeah, you might not recognize the names. The national media analysts might not recognize a name like Greg Crippen or Giovanni Elhadi or Andrew Gentry or Jeffrey Percy. We kind of have confidence, and we've seen it in the spring game, that a lot of these guys on the offensive line are good. So I look at how I want and how I foresee this Michigan offense at its best. It's continued to see what we saw the last couple of years, and that is an elite offensive line that can run the football and can control the line of scrimmage. Now, I think on the flip side, if in fall camp we've seen guys like Freddie Moore and Tyler Morris and Samaj Morgan and Marlon Klein and Colston Loveland really step up and be the difference makers in this Michigan offense, and we want to start getting the football to some of those players on the perimeter, and that's going to be the strength of this unit, then maybe Davis Warren is the guy. But as a Michigan fan right now, I look at this offense and say, I love the running back room. I really like the offensive line. I think Alex Orji is best suited to run this Michigan offense. Now, I think the second conversation and the more fascinating conversation, and what I would love to hear from you guys in the comment section, is what's the timetable and timeline for Sherrone Moore and Kurt Campbell to name the starting quarterback? A lot of different takes you can have. Now, my personal opinion is there's two things that you have to really keep in mind. One, you want to take your time and make sure you get this right, because I think a death sentence for offenses when you go with one quarterback, then you have to flip to another and maybe flip-flop again. That you never see good offenses have that kind of situation. And so in my mind, you want to take your time and go with the right quarterback. And on the flip side, I think there does need to be some sort of, I wouldn't say rush the process, but some fire under your butt in terms of naming the starting quarterback, because you kind of want your quarterback to know they're the guy, have that opportunity to really get a ton of reps with the ones and kind of take command of this Michigan offense, be that voice in the huddle that is the voice everybody's listening to. I think that's a really important conversation to have as well. So it's kind of a blend of, hey, we got to take our time and get it right, but we also want to do this as soon as possible to let that quarterback, whether it's Alex Orji or Davis Warren, to really take command of this Michigan offense. Now, how does that look? Do we name a quarterback heading into week 1? Personally, yes. I would like the quarterback that we're going to rock with in 2024 to get that game day feeling of being the quarterback, playing 4 quarters, going through some growing pains with that Michigan offense, because again, week 2, it's going to be a massive game and the bullets are going to get real. And I think you want to have a quarterback that has gone through 4 quarters of a football game. I think there's another argument that you can say, hey, maybe we rock with 2 quarterbacks during week 1, play Alex Orji in the first half, Davis Warren in the second, give both of those quarterbacks who haven't had a lot of real game action that ability to win that job, and then name a quarterback after week 1. I think that's also something that makes sense. But from my personal opinion and probably experience of watching a lot of offenses go through quarterback battles, I think the best way to do it is probably let your guy know they're the guy heading into week 1, go through some of those growing pains and be as ready as possible going into week 2. A lot of different opinions. I think we all trust Sherrone Moore and Kurt Campbell to get it right and manage it right. Those are some of my opinions. Again, I would love to hear from the Michigan fans in the comment section how you guys are feeling about this quarterback battle, and then more importantly, what the timetable you guys think it should look like. We'll chop it up in the comment section. Again, all the support the Michigan fans have shown the boys, it means the world. If you guys do enjoy the content, consider subscribing to the channel. Appreciate you guys, and we'll talk to y'all later. Peace.